If she hates her father, then guess what? She will hate you too. And this is the thing you need to understand about girls who grew up with daddy issues. Okay, girls who grew up without a father or a weak father. Sometimes even worse, right? A father that they watch just get berated and emasculated by her mother, where her mother was the dominant force in the family. You know, that's a really, really bad environment for a girl to grow up in, and that will turn her on her father. Just seeing her father being so weak and so beta and so spineless. And as I've taught you guys, there is nothing more that women hate and resent than a weak man. Okay? And this is why whenever you've tried to like beg your girl back or grovel to her or plead with her not to leave you or plead with her not to go to the club, don't go with your girlfriends this weekend. Whenever you've done that stuff, what has she done? Was she like, oh baby, oh I won't go, I'll just listen? No, she was like, look you little bitch, I'm gonna do what I want. You don't like it, there's the door. Right? She would treat you as such because she's wired to do that. She's wired to punish you for being weak. This is how our species survived for thousands of years, is because women did not ever reward, and they're not programmed to ever reward, that type of weak little bitch behavior. Okay, this is why begging, groveling, pleading, even compromising, it never works with your girl. Okay, the only thing that works is you being a strong, grown-ass man, laying down the law, setting up your boundaries, and being like, hey girl, don't cross these. Right? And guess what? She's going to still shit test you. She's going to shit test you because that's what they're wired to do. Right? And especially if she never saw her father stand up to her mother, she's especially not going to have much respect for men. Or at least until she comes across a man who stands up for himself. Until she comes across that guy, which in these days are very few and far between, right? Just because so many guys have been emasculated. But you'll find that with most of these girls who grew up with daddy issues, if she hated her father, if he wasn't there for her, or if she's resentful towards him, guess what? All of that, all of those negative, hostile feelings are going to transfer on to you when you start dating her. And I could always tell with these girls, especially when I meet them in field. Okay, before, back in the day, when I was still learning game, I really couldn't see it until I started dating them. And it was usually a little deep into the relationship, like 3 to 6 months into the relationship, before I began to see like her daddy issues or any of her issues or hatred towards men were coming as a result of her lack of fatherhood, right? Her lack of having a father. Whereas once I started to get good at game, I was able to see this right from the jump, right from the cold approach. Like literally as I'm cold approaching the girl, I can tell just by the eye contact that she's holding with me whether or not she likes men or hates men, right? I can tell just by that eye contact alone whether she has like an endearment for men or a deep-seated hatred for men. And these girls who grew up with daddy issues and didn't have a father in the house, or if she did, he was a weak father, like I said, just a beta simp, spineless. The mom was constantly just breaking his balls every day, and he put up with it. He never defended himself, and she witnessed that her entire life growing up, and she's like super resentful of her father, because a girl could never love a father like that. She can't love no girl could love a weak father. She can only love a strong father. And a father like that, obviously, she has no respect for. So this transfers on to guys that she ends up dating in life. So I noticed very quickly with these girls that when I would meet them in field, like if they have daddy issues, if they grew up with a lack of father or just very, very, very weak, poor fathering. I could see the anger in their eyes. It's like they're angry at me. I'm just this pickup artist trying to, I saw a cute girl and I want to talk to her, and they're like angry at me. I'm this guy talking to them. It's almost like they're telegraphing or telecommunicating to me that what they're basically saying is, are you going to be another beta punk ass simp like my dad was? Or are you going to be another absentee male like my father was, where I have to wear the pants? have to be the man in this relationship. It's almost like that anger, that ugh. All of that childhood trauma is coming out of her as I'm coldly approaching her and trying to talk to her, right? And with these girls, I make sure I hold an extra strong masculine frame. I hold my boundaries extra firm, and I don't let her get away with shit. And I'm less playful with these girls too. I mean, normally with girls where I could tell there's more of an endearment towards men, and they actually like men, they enjoy men because they've had proper fathering, or they had a strong male role model in their lives. These girls I'm a little bit more playful with when I'm working game on them. I have a little bit more laughs with them. I take it easy on them. Whereas the girls who had daddy issues, I'm actually a lot more firmer with them. I take more of an authoritative role, right? Even if they're like ordering drinks, right? And they're like, do you want anything? I'm like, I'll have a water. You know, even like super serious, I'll have a water. All right, so tell me about you. I'll just keep a more serious tone, right? To let them know, like, hey, I ain't no punk bitch that you're just gonna like trample on like your mommy did to your dad, right? I'm a strong man and you ain't gonna pull this shit here. And the thing I found about these girls that have these daddy issues is you have to keep that act up. I mean, you have to, and it shouldn't be an act, it should just be who you are, but you have to keep that level of masculinity up. Right? You have to keep this high level of masculinity up where you're just strong, you're firm, you don't put up with any of her shenanigans, any of her charades, any of her nonsense, any of her hissy fits. You're just on it. You know, you call her out every single time she tries to jump out of line with you, she tries to mouth off with you, you are quick to bite back, right? And let her know, like, hey, don't try that here. I'm not your dad. I'm not that guy who took off on your family, or I'm not that guy that your mom used to beat with a stick in front of you in the kitchen. I'm not that guy. Don't treat me like that. Don't try it. You know, almost like a danger side to it. And you know what? These girls, they love it. They love it, right? They love it. They're like, oh my gosh, finally, the prince is here. The prince is here. Another thing about these girls is they're usually very quick to have sex with you once you prove that. Like usually if you could prove that in the initial approach, they're like fast to jump in the sack with you. It's insane. But because they have daddy issues, for them, when they have sex with you that fast, what they are equating that sex to is love. Okay, so they're equating it to love because that's something they never got from their dad. So this is why girls with daddy issues tend to have had a lot of sexual partners, is because they're trying to constantly replace that love that they didn't get from their own father as a child. Again, it's that childhood trauma just continuing to replay and replay and replay. But understand, just for your own safety, right? When you meet these girls, if she hates her father, especially if she tells you flat out that she hated her father, guess what? She has a hatred towards men. And you know what? That's never really gonna go away. I've not really ever seen that go away with these girls because I've been gaming long enough where some of these girls I approached when they were in their 20s, now they're much older, and I still see that deep-seated hatred. And even the guys that I've seen them get with now, some of them have attempted to get married. Of course, they've always ended in divorce, right? Because they're just constantly breaking the guy's balls and they're sabotaging the relationship. And of course, the relationship just, dissolves, right? Because she's not helping to build a relationship. Instead, she's constantly trying to destroy it. So you have to recognize that with these girls who hated their fathers growing up, or resented their fathers, or have not yet even admitted that they hate or resent their father, and they just have no opinion because they didn't know him. They are always going to have this deep-seated hatred towards men. And a lot of these girls, guess what? No surprise, they end up becoming feminists, right? They end up becoming feminists. You go to a feminist rally right now and you quiz all those girls, if they were to answer honestly, say, hey, did you have a father growing up? Most of them will say no. Most of them will say, I hated my dad. Most of them will say, I resent my dad. Okay, that's the answer you're going to get. And this is why they gear towards anything that empowers the feminine now. Because the masculine had let them down. So now they're like gravitating towards feminine because they feel like I have to take charge. I have to take the role of the man because my dad never did. Or, my dad was too weak to do it. So I have to be the man. And I've taught you guys this too. There's nothing more that women hate than having to become the man in the relationship, than having to take the lead because you can't do it, because you're not man enough to do it. And this is why we have coaching videos like this to help you. Okay, so you understand that. But just to wrap this up, make no mistake, whenever you meet a girl and you find out that she hates her father, she resents her father, grew up without a father, or grew up with a weak father where he was constantly getting emasculated by her mom, just know that she, even though she still is attracted to men, she has a deep-seated hatred towards men. These are generally the type of chicks that once you're breaking up, they will like run a smear campaign on you. They'll get really like toxic on you. Some of these girls might even try to file like a Me Too on you or some shit like that, or try to say you did something that you didn't. I've seen some of these girls like file restraining orders, just like dumb shit like that. They know were not necessary. It was just to get back at an ex, right? And this is why too we call these chicks damaged goods. We call them the DG because they're damaged. They're damaged, right? They have a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of baggage they're carrying from their adolescence, and you're having to deal with it. You don't want to get into any type of lengthy relationship with any of these girls. Definitely never marry them. They never work out, just because they're always going to have that hostility for men inside, that hostility that she has for her father. You're going to have to basically pay for her dad's mistakes for as long as you're with her. Why do that when there are plenty of girls out there without daddy issues? Why deal with this girl? Why? There's no reason to.